Hi everyone, Laura here with another video that I hope you'll enjoy. Today we're going to have a look at a fun new interactive die set from the July release. It's called Twist Turn Die-namics and we're going to use it to make a couple of interactive cards with rotating elements. As you can see, when we pull the tab, two of the animals from Birdie Brown's Sunshine and Friendship stamp set rotate at the same time. We could actually use this mechanism to make 4 elements move simultaneously, and I promise to do that someday. We can also make a card in which only one element rotates, like this one, that features one of the stamps from Birdie Brown's super cute Drink Up the Sunshine set. So here's the Twist and Turn dynamic set that I designed together with Jody and Lena. At first glance it can look confusing, but you'll soon find out how easy it all comes together. As you can see, some of the elements are repeated. The idea is that you can cut all of your pieces in one go. I like to layer 2 of each, so I cut the whole thing twice. I use liquid adhesive for this and finish in no time. Once we're done with the stacking of the elements, we can link them together using 4 brads. This type of mechanism is actually called a 4-bar linkage. The pull tab already has a couple of holes in it, so you can't go wrong. Just remember that the tabs with the center holes need to be parallel to each other. We only need to insert the last brad in its place and we're done. Here I'm finishing the background for my first card. To create this pool water effect, I followed the fantastic tutorial that Sandy Allnuck prepared for My Favorite Things a couple of weeks ago. Check it out if you missed it. Next, I used the largest die from the A2 Stitched Rectangle Stack Set 1 Dynamics to die cut both the main panel and the second panel in Summer Splash cardstock. I also colored a bunch of the cute critters, although I knew I'd probably only use a couple. I couldn't help myself, they were so much fun to color. Before we start assembling everything, we need to prepare the panels. The mechanism will be linked to this one, so we have to punch a couple of holes for brads. You could actually work directly on the card base, but I find it a lot easier to align everything if I use a same-sized panel for the mechanism. Let's just make sure that everything fits before moving on. We have our 2 critters, and we could even add a magnet to the pull tab to make the ball move back and forth. Okay, now we're ready to grab a pencil and mark the back panel to punch those holes that I mentioned. We can use this little die that's included in the Twist and Turn dynamic set, a piercing tool, or one of these 1 1/16 of an inch long reach hole punches. I'm just going to use the included die to get the spacing just right, and I'm keeping it in place with some washi tape to run it through my die cutting machine. We can finally start assembling the card. I'm using mini brads to link the mechanism to the back panel, but as long as the heads of the brads measure less than 3/16 of an inch, which is the diameter of the donut pieces, we're fine. Let's grab the main panel and temporarily adhere it to the back panel with some washi tape. Now we can run our finger over those rotating brads to leave a mark on the panel. I'm also going to use a pencil so that you can see it on your screens. This die is used to cut 2 1/2-inch holes on our main panel. I'm just centering it so that they coincide with the smaller ones. My die cutting machine is tight and the outlines of the die will be lightly embossed on the paper. I don't mind, but we could also use the included circle die and just run the panel through the machine twice. We need 2 layers of foam adhesive for this card, so I'm just carefully doubling it and then cutting it into strips. This first piece acts as a stop, so that the pull tab can't be pushed too far. Let's add another stop so that it can't be pulled out too much. Otherwise the mechanism would be visible on the left side. I used the stitched line as a mark and only applied the foam tape up to it. And we're ready to adhere the 2 panels together. I always find it easier to do vertically, leaning them on my desk and starting from one corner. Now I can use a pair of scissors to trim that little extra edge, although it isn't really necessary. The card base cut out of smooth white cardstock measures 8 3/4 of an inch by 5 5/8, and it's of course scored at 4 3/8. I like to add score tape to the edges and a little bit to the center, avoiding the brads of course. Then I peel off the backing from the middle strips of tape and partly of the corners so that I can center the panel perfectly before peeling off the rest of the backing and adhering it to the card base. I've already stacked 4 or 5 donut pieces, and now I'm gluing them to our mechanism with some liquid glue through those 2 holes. You could glue your rotating elements directly to the donuts or add a little extra volume with more donuts, foam dots or squares like I'm doing here. Okay, let's test our card. Looks like those critters are having a lot of fun in the pool. I prepared a little banner out of vellum and heat embossed one of the sentiments from the Sunshine and Friendship stamp set in silver. I'm using the beach ball to adhere the vellum strip to the panel, and I'm also hiding a tiny sliver of stick-it adhesive behind the word birthday. As a last detail, I decided to add the cute slut who's just too lazy to participate in the synchronized swimming or floating. I repeated the same tricks as before to assemble this card, so let's just skip ahead. At first I adhered the girl directly to the donut with no volume, but later changed my mind. And here I'm adding some drops of glossy accents to my panel as the only decorative touch. I didn't think of just making the girl's head rotate. That would have been a lot of fun. And the movement of her whole body is more of a swinging motion that doesn't look very natural. So I decided to give it a purpose and add a second little sentiment from the Sweet Spring Friends stamp set behind her. So I grabbed my Misty and partially stamped the sentiment with some cornflower blue premium dye ink. I added an extra foam square to the mechanism and also a couple of thin ones behind the die-cut girl. I of course left the release tape on them. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this short sneak peek of the interactive Twist and Turn Dynamics set, and stay tuned for more creative ideas. Have a great day. Hasta pronto!